Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 77 of Codename Kids Next Door, Operation M.O.O.N. We begin this segment at the Sector V treehouse, where we see 4 of the 5 Sector V operatives watching TV. Number 4 is the only Sector V operative not present. Footage of the 1969 moon landing is being shown on TV, and the present Sector V operatives are laughing hysterically at this footage, but they quickly become surprised and concerned when Brad Punchbeef, the reporter, reveals that NASA has plans to return to the moon in honor of the 1969 moon landing's anniversary. The next scene takes us to the moon base headquarters, and we see that most of the Kids Next Door operatives have gathered together for a meeting. Number 362 reveals that the moon base was already built by the time of 1969, so the Kids Next Door operatives of that time period faked the moon landing in order to keep the moon base a secret. They were able to do this by taking control of the NASA spacecraft, sending it to a Kids Next Door studio that was designed to look like the moon, and putting on a performance in order to trick NASA into thinking that their moon landing plan was successful. So number 362 figures that the Kids Next Door will have to fake another moon landing, and she answers number 2's question about if certain rumors are true. Number 362 confirms that the rumors that NASA is planning to send a family to the moon to see if the moon can be colonized are true. Those rumors are true. And we quickly find out that the Beatles family, number 4's family, is the family that's being sent to the moon. Number 4 is notably not happy about the idea of living on the moon. We then head to the Kids Next Door studio that is designed to look like the moon. It's located in Hollywood, and a great number of Kids Next Door operatives are participating on the current fake moon landing plan, including the 4 other Sector V operatives. It looks like number 1 is in charge of the current fake moon landing plan. Number 5 voices her sentiments about how number 4 isn't very good at keeping secrets, and number 1 responds by saying he agrees with number 5 with regards to those sentiments. That's why number 1 hasn't told number 4 about this fake moon landing plan. So number 4 is under the impression that his family are actually heading to the moon, or that they're heading to the actual moon. So the Beatles' home is attached to the top of a rocket, and the rocket is launched off into space, or yes, it's preparing to launch off into space, but the Kids Next Door operatives succeed in blocking the video feed so that NASA can't see them, the Kids Next Door operatives, redirecting the Beatles' home rocket to the fake moon. So after the Beatles' home arrives at the fake moon, the Kids Next Door restore the video feed so that NASA believes that their plan was successful. And number 1 instructs the operatives present to make sure that they make the Beatles stay on the fake moon very short and very unpleasant in order to discourage NASA from trying another plan like this in the future. So we do see a few attempts by the Kids Next Door operatives in order to make the Beatles stay on the fake moon short and unpleasant. First they pull a trick where it looks like the Beatles family are looking at Earth from the moon, and the Earth that they drew on the sky says free hamburgers on one of the continents. And number 4 in particular is disappointed that free hamburgers are apparently available on Earth right now. Another attempt is that they try to lower the temperature to make the moon colder, but the astronaut suits that the Beatles family are wearing keep them warm. And then they try to fake a meteor shower, but this leads to a situation where one of the windows shaped like a star breaks, so they have to try and fix the star-shaped window without the Beatles family noticing them, and they have to use they use a projector of a comet in order to distract them, but they also have to be careful because number 3 is playing with her rainbow monkey in front of the projector, so her silhouette is showing up in front of the comet's the image of the comet, so they have to make sure that number 3 doesn't blow their cover. And later on, after this, number 1 sends number 3 out of the control room of the studio so that she won't unintentionally give away their cover. But number 3 actually decides to go to the Beatles' home to give a balloon to number 4. But some Kids Next Door operatives are wearing disguises on the fake moon. They're disguised to look like rocks, and they manage to get number 3 out of there before number 4 answers the door. And so after these various attempts and these various close calls, the Beatles family are having a meal right now. Their meals are in the form of they look like toothpaste, except it's food. They're eating through what looks like toothpaste, but it's really food. It's food in paste form. And number 4 is frustrated about this. He says he wants to have some real food, but Mrs. Beatles says that it's not like there's some moon base on the moon with actual food on it. And number 4 eventually snaps. He angrily says that he doesn't want to live on the moon, but Mr. Beatles insists that the moon is their home now, and he politely requests that number 4 head to his room. So number 4 goes to his room, and he's grumbling about how he thinks he's on the moon right now and how he doesn't want to live on the moon. But then his mother's comments about how there isn't a moon base on the moon reminds number 4 that there is a moon base and it has actual food. So number 4 plans to head to the moon base to get some actual food. So when the Beatles' parents and Joey go to check on number 4, they see that he snuck out through his window. And the operatives in the control room notice number 4 walking out of his house and just walking across the fake moon. And they do get some audio, or they activate audio so they can listen to number 4's grumbling to figure out what he's doing. And they figure out that number 4 is planning to go to the moon base. And they realize, though, that number 4 will eventually head to the edge of the stage and find out that this isn't really the moon, but a fake moon. And to make matters worse, the Beatles' parents and Joey are chasing after number 4. And so desperate in order to maintain their cover, number 1 thinks that they have no other choice but to activate another plan or set another plan into motion. This plan is where some of the Kids Next Door operatives are wearing costumes to look like moon aliens, and their attempt is to try and scare off the Beatles family and to scare off NASA from trying to colonize the moon. The fake moon alien attack does work. The Beatles family return to their home and they use an emergency button in order to go back to their actual home. So they leave, and NASA decides that they won't colonize the moon. Unfortunately, though, while this plan does succeed in getting the Beatles family to leave, and it does succeed in convincing NASA not to try to colonize the moon, NASA decides that they need to blow up the moon to prevent the moon aliens from invading Earth. So they launch NASA launches a bunch of missiles towards the moon, and number 362 contacts number 1 with video chat and chews him out for his plan, leading to the actual moon being in danger. Number 1 assures number 362 that he has a plan, but when he turns off the video chat with number 362, he quickly and in a panicked manner pleads to any of the operatives present to come up with a plan to save the moon. So a plan is thought of, and what happens is the video feed cuts out, or yes, the video feed showing the missiles heading for the moon is disconnected, and instead there's a quickly rushed together video is in place of the actual video feed. This quick video shows number 3 holding a dart, and there's a balloon. Yes, there's a balloon that's blown up to look like the moon. It actually has moon written on it, and there's a background to make it look like space. And we actually see number 3's arm, and she's holding a dart that's meant to be the missile, and she pops the balloon to make it look like that the missiles blew up the moon. And there's even the end sign that appears afterwards. So by all accounts, this should be very obvious that this is a fake video, but NASA falls for it. Staff members of NASA comment about how it's a shame that the moon will never be colonized, but they quickly decide that they should go get some free hamburgers. So back at the fake moon, or back at the Kids Next Door studio, number 1 congratulates number 3 for coming up with a plan in order to fake the moon being blown up and redirecting the missiles elsewhere. And then number 3 reveals that the missiles have been redirected towards the fake moon. So number 5 says the Houston, we have a problem line, and then we head to the end credits scene. Now the end credits scene shows number 4 on the fake moon, and he's buried himself up to his neck in the fake moon, whatever the fake moon is made out of. And he starts to sing his Buried in the Sand song, except he changes the lyrics to match the moon. And that is how we end this segment. So there you go. This was the last B segment of Codename Kids Next Door. And it's also the last segment of Codename Kids Next Door, because the next episode, the last episode, is a full episode, and then we have 2 TV specials to cover after the last episode. One of them being a crossover with another Cartoon Network show, and the other TV special being the series finale. But before we get to those, let's talk about the last B segment of Codename Kids Next Door. So this segment actually addresses a historical event, or yes, this segment offers the show's universe's spin on a historical moment in real life. This event is the 1969 moon landing, and this segment goes along with how, this segment references those conspiracy theories about how the moon landing was supposedly faked. The whole moon landing was faked. The moon landing being false, that's a popular conspiracy theory, and Codename Kids Next Door decided to do its own spin on that conspiracy theory. In this case, the moon landing actually was faked in Codename Kids Next Door, yes. In the universe of Codename Kids Next Door, the moon landing was faked by the Kids Next Door in order to keep the moon base a secret, because yes, the moon base was already built by the time that 1969 rolled around. So the Kids Next Door faked the moon landing to keep the moon base a secret. And in this segment, the Kids Next Door have to fake another moon landing in order to prevent NASA from finding out about the moon base. But they also try to discourage NASA from trying to revisit the moon in the future. And we do get to see, NASA was planning to try and colonize the moon in this segment. But yes, the Kids Next Door succeeded in discouraging NASA from trying that in the future, but it worked too well to the point where NASA decided to blow up the moon. Never mind the fact that blowing up the moon would have disastrous consequences, like affecting the tides. But yes, this segment does show how the NASA staff members don't seem to think things through all the way. Not only with their decision to blow up the moon, but also the fact that they easily fell for the quickly rushed together video that faked the moon blowing up. Not to mention the fact that by the time nightfall rolls around, people are going to see the moon is still there. But yes, I don't believe. I don't think the show ever does address how the kids next door deal with people noticing that the moon is still in one piece after the events of this segment. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some fan works had tried to offer possible explanations for why NASA didn't try to blow up the moon again after this attempt, or what discouraged NASA from worrying about the moon aliens in the future. I'm sure that there are some fan works that come up with an answer, because the show itself doesn't actually provide an answer. Understandably so, we only have one more episode and then 2 TV specials, and they have other topics to cover. But otherwise, yes, the fact that number 4's family was the family chosen to go to the moon to see if the moon can be colonized, that was definitely bad luck on the kids next door's part, because number 5 brought up that number 4 can't be trusted with keeping a secret. That's why they kept number 4 in the dark about the fake moon landing plan. They figured that he would give away that they weren't actually going to the moon. But yes, but later on in this segment, we do see that number 4 was planning to go to the moon base. And while it's true that it was a fake moon, so the kids next door didn't have to worry about number 4 giving away the moon base anyway because they were on the fake moon, number 4's plan still would have ended up exposing that they were on a fake moon rather than the actual moon. So it seemed like no matter what happened, number 4's family being the family to go to the moon was a bad situation for the kids next door all around. Keeping number 4 in the dark, they didn't want to let number 4 in on the plan, but keeping him in the dark also had its share of problems too. So it did feel like a very unwinnable situation for the kids next door operatives. Or it's not hard to understand why number 1 felt that they had to resort to the moon alien attack plan in order to maintain their cover, although it almost led to the actual moon being blown up. And number 362 chewing number 1 out about this plan does highlight something that I brought up in Operation Girlfriend's recap and thoughts video, and it was also touched up on in Operation Zero. Even though Operation Girlfriend all but spelled out that number 362 has feelings for number 1, that doesn't stop her from chewing number 1 out for some of his more reckless actions. Or yes, we saw number 362 chewing out number 1 for his recklessness in Operation Zero, and she didn't hesitate to put her foot down in Operation Girlfriend when number 1 wanted to divert from the order that from when number 1 didn't intend to follow her direct orders. So yes, this segment continues to highlight that number 362 may have feelings for number 1, but that doesn't stop her from chewing number 1 out when she feels the situation calls for it. And otherwise, I guess another detail worth pointing out is how this segment did kind of switch back and forth with the Beatles' parents' faces being shown. Sometimes the segment hid their faces, but sometimes their faces were clearly shown. So I thought that was an interesting detail. But otherwise, I would say that's about it for now. So, like I said, I thought this segment was pretty entertaining because it addressed this universe's equivalent to a real-life historical event. And it was pretty funny how NASA was fooled by the kids next door's hasty attempts to maintain their cover. And yeah, I did think it was pretty nice to see the Beatles family interacting with each other. And otherwise, yeah, I would say that's about it. So as of this video, we've now discussed the B segment of episode 77 of Codename Kids Next Door on this channel. Take care, and until next time,